Please be seated. The court is now back in session, and we would like to now hand over to the prosecutor to continue putting questions to the witness.
Mr. President, thank you. Can I please raise one issue before I start asking further questions? And it's to ask, please, Mr. President and Your Honours, for the 1 hour that was lost this morning from 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Can that please be added on tomorrow morning so that, if needed, the co-prosecutors have the rest of today to complete their questioning, and then the lead co-lawyers for the civil parties be given that 1 hour which was lost today to ask questions tomorrow morning if required.
The President, your request is granted because the ground is plausible and indeed 1 hour was lost. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon to you, Mr. Chuk Rin. Just before the break for lunch, I was asking you questions about the 17th of April people being considered to be with the enemy. Your response, as translated into English, was that people knew that the 17th of April people were enemies, and that even babies or small children knew that to be the case. You told the investigators that you joined the army in 1971, that you became a platoon commander in 1973. Can you help me as to who spoke to you about the 17th of April people being enemies? How did that come up?
Counsel Kung Sam-on, Mr. President, may I be heard? The President, Counsel, you may now proceed. Counsel Kung Sam-on, thank you, Mr. President. My apology. I would like the co-prosecutor to pinpoint to the reference he is now putting question to the witness, please.
I'm sorry if it wasn't clear. I've already put the extract to Mr. Chukrin, where he said in his previous interview that the 17th of April people were considered to be with the enemy. I'll repeat that reference so that my learned friend has it. Mr. Chukrin told that to the investigators on the 29th of July 2008 in his interview E3/362, and the Khmer page number was 00210-214. So all I'm asking now is for some clarification. So I repeat the question. Mr. Chuk Rin, you joined the army in 1971, and by 1973 you were a platoon commander. So when was it then that people were speaking to you about the 17th of April people being enemies?
Response. I never received any instructions that the 17th of April people being considered as enemies. But these people who were with the enemy, rather with the Lono soldiers, were regarded as the 17th of April people. Again, I had never received any instruction that these people would be regarded as the enemies. These people who had been with the enemies, later on, they were in the liberated zone, but later on they were regarded as the 17th of April people, and I did say it clearly before the co-investigators.
Let me ask the question in this way. You lived, didn't you, in the liberated zone from 1971 through to 1975, or are the dates slightly different?
Response. I don't understand your question. I do not understand your question. You asked me, can you repeat it?
I'm going to help you by referring you to your previous interview so that the question becomes absolutely clear. In your interview E3/361, English 007 66449, Khmer 0019 4464, and French 0026 8881, you said in 1971, I joined and served the Communist Party of Kampuchea through Sien, the chairman of Kampong Trak district. Is that correct?
Response. Yes, it is.
You said in the same interview, English 007 66450, Khmer 0019 4465, and French 002 68882. In 1973, I became commander of a platoon subordinate to Battalion Ko in the Kampot sector. Is that correct?
Response. Yes, it is.
The zones that were occupied by the Khmer Rouge or the CPK or the Front became known as the liberated zone. Do you understand that phrase, the liberated zones? Or did you use different words to describe the areas under Khmer Rouge control in the period 1971 to 1973?
Response. Yes, it is correct. The term the liberated zone was used.
Was it during the time that you were in a liberated zone that it was common knowledge that people who lived in the cities that were not yet under Khmer Rouge control were occupied by enemies?
Response: Yes, it is correct.
I want to be absolutely clear on this. So, well before 1975, in other words, during the period 1971 to 1973, you as a military man knew that people who occupied the cities were enemies. Is that right?
Response: Yes, it is.
I'd like to ask some further questions about who else were considered to be the enemies of the CPK apart from the city dwellers. In your interview E3/362, English 002 68897, French 002 68905, and Khmer 002 10212. You were being asked questions about a copy of the Revolutionary Flag magazine. And you said, not only the feudalists and capitalists were purged, but also the farmers who privately owned the rice fields. They were also the enemy of the CPK. Is that correct?
Response: The question is rather lengthy. I wish to respond to this based on my recollection, and since I haven't read the documents in advance, and as it is much needed by the chamber, I would be brief in responding to this. First, I think I almost forget what I am asked.
Let me try and help you. What, if anything, happened in the CPK period to farmers who privately owned their own rice fields?
Response: You see, when you asked me the question, I was ready to respond, but then I forgot. But now you repeated it, and I know the purpose of this question, so I would like to proceed to respond to it as follows. During the time when the country was under the control of the Khmer Rouge leaders, I can see that when it comes through the documents and the presentation, as I already stated in the relevant revolutionary flag number 7, in study sessions, we were lectured on the danger we would face, and we were not advised to be afraid of just the 17th of April people, but we were instructed to be vigilant and be cautious regarding the people in the ranks of the government, because the documents reflected the spies, including the Vietnamese spies and KGB, the Russian agents. And I believe that my superior, who is here in this courtroom, knows who these people refer to. And also we were lectured on the CIA, the American agents. And again, I already told the chamber that in my military, or in the army where I served, a lot of senior leaders of the army were arrested. And I can still not understand who could have been a KGB agent, CIA, or spy. And I, at the same time, don't understand. Even my colleagues in arms were arrested, and some of the senior leaders of the battalions and companies were arrested by their peers. So they created their own problem. For example, they implicated one another, accusing one another as enemy, and then arrests were made. Even the Khmer Rouge soldier or the soldiers for the Democratic Cambodia themselves were terrified by this ordeal, and the purges were carried out every now and then. And I could see very clearly that some senior military leaders were arrested. Nonetheless, we were not allowed to know what happened at the base. But the only thing I know very well is that persecution was being inflicted upon Cambodian people, and we learned also about the problem through the documents Revolutionary Flag number 7. And I also have heard of Mr. Khieu Samphan through what I heard from Tamok. Tamok told us that Khieu Samphan was an intellectual who was not deeply engaged in the CPK. And I also told the court that I am not willing to say the details at this moment because I am now on medication and I have to use some paracetamol medicines to relieve my headache. But
please forgive me, Mr. Chukren. I just want to interject there, if I may, because you've given a very long answer in a lot of detail. And I thank you very much for that very helpful answer. I hope you won't mind if I just ask some other questions to clarify certain aspects of what you've said. You spoke about military commanders being arrested. And you covered this in your interview with the OCIJ. And you said this: E3/362, English 00268895, French 00268903, and Khmer 002102110. And I quote, in 1975/1976, Sambit ordered the arrests of those in the army. And then you say, in 1975, a number of the commanders of the battalion and of the regiment were arrested and charged. And then you said just these words: so the army was purified from the beginning. So was the army purified soon after 1975?
Response: yes, it is true. The army was purified from then on. It happened from at Kampot province. And when I came to study sessions in Phnom Penh, I could also see Mr. Pol Pot and Nuon Chea, who were present the first time in the session. The other participants also attended the session, but I could not remember them all. And at that time, the internal situation of the Democratic Cambodia was dire because fractures or disputes were rampant in the party and this led to the arrests of people in Kampot province, and also soldiers in Kampot and Takao would then be gathered and sent to the east zone so that they could engage in the battlefields, but they were fighting their own people. And that's what I could tell the court about the military situation at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Chokrin. In the same portion of your previous interview, on the same pages, speaking about the military commanders who were arrested from the beginning, you said this, and I quote, "They were arrested from the strings of traitors. The arrests were made on the order of the zone, which I think was from someone who was above Sambit. Some of the arrested were sent to Phnom Penh, and some were taken to Kampot's security office." Is that right?
Response: yes, it is. And I already gave the detail of this to the officers of the court, and that is true. That's what happened in the East Zone.
I want to ask some other questions now about the Kampot security office. Can you help us on whether that security office existed before the evacuation of Kampot in April 1975?
On this issue, I am sorry, I do not know it exactly, but that was the overall situation at that time. But as for the exact location of the security center or so, I was not told, and I was not supposed to know either.
Let me try and help you. In your interview, E3/362, English 0026 8896, French 0026 8903, and Khmer 002 10210. The investigator was asking you about this Kampot security office. And the investigator said, what was that place and where was it located? And does this help you to refresh your memory? Your answer was, it was a part of the security office of Sector 35 in Kampot, where only military prisoners were imprisoned. It was not for civilian prisoners. So,
The President, witness, please hold on. International Counsel for Mr. Nguyen, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I suppose I would like to have some clarification from the bench. Clearly, this is not a leading question, it's a very leading question. And you have ruled on various occasions that questions like this, also this morning, is allowed. Now, would you wish me, for the record, to keep objecting to these questions on the grounds that we find it leading? Or has the position of the bench been that once it is objected to by the defense, for instance, if there's a leading question, that we are supposed to have been objecting also afterwards? Because I would be happy to say object and then go sit down again to speed up things. But I would not like, in one particular situation, when the appeal is there, that the appeals chamber will say, well, the defense didn't object to this question and should have done it while the question was asked and should have then said the question is leading. So would you be able to clarify what you would like the defense to do in this particular situation?
The President. The Chamber will rule on the objection raised by the defense team accusing the prosecutor of asking leading question, and the chamber is of the opinion that this question is leading in nature, so this last question need not to be answered by the witness. Secondly, on the general question raised by the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chie, who has said that the chamber has never ruled on the procedures in relation to the question put by the parties. The chamber from time to time listen to the line of questioning and the particular objection to any line of questioning, and based on individual case, the chamber will rule on the issue on the case-by-case basis based on the applicable procedures as well as the practice of civil law systems that we have applied in these proceedings. And I believe that all parties are used to this system because we have been proceeding over the past 1 year or so. So far, the chamber has never objected to any objection by the parties in relation to the lines of questioning put by each party. So you may object from time to time to any lines of questioning that you believe that is leading in nature, and on the case-by-case basis, we are going to rule on the particular objection to any question. There might have been certain minor issue because I believe that all parties concerned as well as the members of public might be well aware that since this morning the witness has changed his position. He now inclined to respond to the question by the parties. So parties are now directed to follow the usual proceedings that we have conducted so far. So we shall now proceed.
Mr. Chukrin, when did you first know that there was a security office in Kampot?
After I have told the court, I would like to repeat that I do not know the exact location of the security center. I did not know that the exact location. I know that people have been arrested to put in the security center. Numbers of soldiers were arrested and sent to Kampot, but I did not know the whereabouts of that security center. At that time, I was not told of the place. That's what I can tell the court. If what I am testifying now is acceptable by the court, it is up to the court to decide. But I did not know the exact location of the security center, and I did not attempt to follow the track of the location of security center. I can be this brief.
Mr. Chukrin, I didn't ask you about the location of the security centre. Let me repeat the question. When did you first find out that there was a security centre in Kampot?
I only learned the existence of this following the arrest of my superior, my direct superior. That time he was arrested and sent to Cambodia, and he disappeared over there. I did not know where he was sent to after he had been sent to Cambodia province. He could have been sent to Phnom Penh, but I did not know.
Thank you. I was asking you about enemies earlier, and I was referring to your previous interviews without objection from the defence and in accordance with the pre-existing rules. At E3/362, English 002 68897, French 002 68905, and Khmer 002 10212. You were talking about the revolutionary flag and number 7. And you were talking about the term to get rid of. And you said this. The term get rid of in this sentence means that if we do not follow any assignment, we are not their people. In a refashion meeting, those who did not succeed in fulfilling the assignment would be declared as enemies. Now, can you give me some examples of people that you knew of who did not succeed in fulfilling the assignment and being declared as enemies?
I can bring up some example to enlighten the court on this issue. After this flag number 7 was issued by the Communist Party of Cambodia, the issue published in 1976, I may be wrong with the year, they describes the different types of people. For example, people who plowed the field and broke the plow. These people would be alleged as enemy. If anyone would break even one spoon or one plow also, this person's position was not certain. The person would not be inclined to follow the party's line.
Thank you. You said in your interview with the investigators, on the same pages as I've already quoted, all people have to spy on each other. If there is something wrong, one must get rid of it, which refers to an arrest to be made by an order from the top. Now, with arrests, can you just give us some idea of roughly how many military commanders were arrested soon after 1975, based on your knowledge?
I did not grasp the issue, but I can only confirm that there were arrests of military commanders at that time. And my former direct superior was of a communist believer and followers, and he was also arrested. The leaders of the Communist Party of Cambodia summoned us to attend training courses in Phnom Penh. And we, while attending the meeting, did not dare ask each other's question. I hope that what I am testifying now is subject for the consideration of the audience. We came to attend the training course, and flag number 7 was the material for the training at that time, and the trainees were supposed to discuss the issue in the study materials, but we dare not discuss with each other's personal affair. Now, for example, if Mr. A was arrested, and if people continue to talk about the arrest of this person, then it could create an atmosphere of mistrust within the team. So we were not supposed to discuss with one another. So my former direct boss, he may not agree with what I said, but that's what I can tell the truth at that time. When I left manhood, I did never imagine that the situation was that tragedious.
Well,
I only followed the appeal by the then Prince Norodom Sihanouk following the coup d'etat, and at that time we felt unhappy with the Lon. Then we joined the resistance.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you, and please forgive me. I'm just trying to keep things in a logical format. You've mentioned attending training in Phnom Penh. How many times did you come to Phnom Penh to receive training?
I was just telling you about this earlier on. I came to attend the training only once. At that time, flag number 7 was the material for the training. And when the situation along the border was getting worse, I was sent there. We received the instruction from the upper authority to reinforce the force along the Cambodian-Vietnamese border, particularly in Svay Rieng province. I simply would like to bring up the chain of stories of that time. At that time, the Khmer Rouge cadre themselves was afraid of making mistakes by themselves, because when we talk about communist working environment, everyone had to be vigilant of it. And before I joined the resistance forces, I did not know who Pol Pot was. I only knew Mr. Nguyen Chir, and they inducted us to a Communist Party, and we were summoned for training, and during that training they told us about the Prince Norodom Sihanouk, and we did not hear about Mr. Kil Sompon. That's why I have already told the court that Mr. Kil Sompon was not inducted in the Communist Party of Cambodia. That's why I did not see his presence at that time. And I feel very, very sorry that some prominent figures in Cambodia, like Prince Norodom Sihanouk himself, was being cheated by Mr. Nguyen Chia at that time. And then when they deviated, we at the lower level, we could not get out of it by ourselves. We got deeper inside into the forces, and we were the tool used by the parties. We had to listen to the order by the party. Whatever the party directed us, we had to follow. We had no choice. So we, at that time, try to follow the instruction. And I think that my former boss may not believe in what I am saying now. He may not agree with what I said now. But at that time, during the 8 years, 3 months, and 20 days, we kill ourselves. We kill each other among our forces.
Thank you, Mr. Churin. I just want to concentrate on this one occasion when you came to Phnom Penh for training and the revolutionary flag number 7 was the document discussed at the training. So, I mean, who wrote the policies in revolutionary flag number 7?
You may well imagine, at that time, the leaders of the Communist Party of Cambodia was mysterious. We could hardly know who they were, and we could hardly understand what they were thinking. And we at that time were, very frightened. We were in constant fear, and we rarely met those leaders either. We at that time studied based on the Communist Party of Cambodia materials, and we knew that the leaders of the Communist Party of Cambodia were there, and there were many survivors who survived the fighting, and I believe that the court might find out more about those survivors who can be very helpful to ascertaining the truth of the history of Cambodia. I am only one of them, and I will endeavor to tell the court whatever I can recall.
Thank you. I'm going to put, in fairness to you, an extract of what you told the investigating judges, and then I'm going to ask you whether you knew this thing, whether you're speculating about it. And the extract is this: E3/362, English 002688899, French 002688907, and Khmer 00210214. The investigator asked you this question: do you know who wrote these policies in revolutionary flag number 7? And your answer was, the persons who wrote them were those from the Central Committee, such as Pol Pot, Nguyen Chia, and Ieng Sary, who copied a little of the idea from the Russian Communist Party and from China. But the main ideas were theirs, because as long as they agreed in the party, then the principles could be adopted and implemented throughout the country. Now, why did you tell the investigators that it was the Central Committee, such as Pol Pot, Nuon Chea and Ieng Sary, who wrote the policies?
The reason for my statement was that we follow the instruction from the party leaders. And who were the party leaders? They were only those few leaders. This is my assumption of that they were the leaders of the Communist Party of Cambodia.
Right, thank you. I'm just going to now ask you briefly to comment on some documents. These were downloaded to the interface within time last week. And they're basically documents about the military, Mr. Chukrin. And so I'm going to put the document up on the screen and then ask you some questions based on the document. In order to forestall any potential objections from the defence, you were intimately involved with the military from 1971 right through to 1979. You've told investigating officers you were a soldier, platoon commander, and ultimately an artillery commander. And it's for those reasons that I ask you to comment on these documents. And the first document I'd like, please, to be put up onto the screen is E3/847.
The President, you may proceed.
Thank you. The page I'm looking for in Khmer is 00008459. I wonder if that can go up onto the screen, please. Now, Mr. Chukrin, I know your eyesight is not good, so I'm going to try and help you by explaining this document to you. This is E3/847. The English page is 00195322, and the French page is 00623199. And the document, Mr. Chukrin, has it as the title of the document, a General Staff Study Session. And the date of this study session was the 23rd of November, 1976. The document that you have sets out a table of statistics showing who participated in the study session. I'm not going to go through every single entry, but if you look at the page, you will see that in terms of the divisions, and so that's a high-level army formation, there were 9 divisions who sent people to this study session. I'm going to give you the numbers of the divisions. Division 450, Division 801, Division 502, Division 703, Division 170, Division 290, Division 164, and Division 310, and finally Division 920. Now, you told the investigators that in May 1975, so that would be the year before this meeting, you became commander of Artillery Battalion 59, subordinate to Kampot province, where Rin was the Kampot sector commander. My question to you is this: can you help me, looking at November 1976, late 1976, do you know the number of your division, the division that you were part of?
There was only one battalion in the province. I could not remember all. I did not remember the number. I just talk about my own small unit. There were over 300, and this is beyond my capacity. I am in a small unit in Kampot province. This is about the general staff. I am a low-ranking soldier. I do not understand this. I cannot respond.
That's a very fair answer, and I'm not going to push the point. Can you just bear with me one moment, please? Mr. Chukrin, I want to concentrate now on the period from 1973, when you became a platoon commander, through to April 1975, when Kampot was evacuated. Now, you said in your interview, and I think the page has already been given, that in 1973 you became a platoon commander in Battalion Ko in Kampot sector, and you supervised 36 soldiers. And at that time there were 3 battalions. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So in Kampot 3 battalions, you spoke of there being Battalion Ka with Che alias Sakan as the commander, Battalion Ka with Chun, who was a relative of Nguyen Pet, as its commander, and a 3rd battalion with Chom as its commander. Is it right that they were the commanders of those 3 battalions?
Yes, it is correct. It is right.
You also said all 3 commanders were arrested and executed during 1975-1976. How did you know that they had been arrested?
They were my superiors, so after they were arrested, I could not see them. They were my direct superior.
Now, I want to again ask some questions about 1973 and 1974. Now, you've mentioned Tamok. When did you first hear about or meet Tamok?
I do not remember the date. I only know that Tamok was the leader of the Southwest Zone since I joined the army. I heard his name. He went to Cambodia. I could not give the details.
Did you ever hear of the name Tuch Rin?
Yes, I did hear of his name. Ren was with me in Cambodia. My name is not Ren, my name is Rin, and Ren also disappeared.
Did you know of a man called Praset? I'm going to say the name again. Did you know of a man Praset?
I do not know him. I do not know Proset. I only heard his name, but I never saw him. The President, thank you, co-prosecutor. Right now it is time for adjournment. The court is adjourned until 3 p.m. The detention personnel are instructed to take care of the accused, and the court officer are instructed to take care of the witness. The court is adjourned.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រុមឈរ